Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Inspiring Conversations. Starting after a long time, really. This was my first one in 2023 when we are nearly coming to an end, but promise to bring you more. And I'm delighted to have a very interesting guest with me today. My name is Ekta. I'm the one who conducts these inspiring conversations with a varied amount of speakers. We talk about spirituality, we talk about books, about stories, and everything is centered around life and how amazing things people are doing. I try to bring all those elements in my conversations. I'm also the author of the empowering book, The Voice of Kali, and the co-founder of a publishing company in the UK, Author in Me. So today, for my guest, I have Vani Tripathi Tikoo, and I would like her to give her introduction. So welcome to Inspiring Conversations, Vani. I'm really delighted to have you here, and please tell our guest something about yourself.
Thank you, Ekta. And inspiring in conversation is a very good collaboration because we are Indians and we love to talk, and conversations is what we are very good at. And when those conversations become inspiring, I think that's exactly what we need in post-COVID times. So I'm Vani Tripathi Tikoo. I'm an actor and a producer by profession. And I'm just right now touring the world with my brand new book called Why Can't Elephants Be Read? I'm a first time author in terms of storytelling, story writing. But intrinsically, I'm a storyteller, and a large body of my work has been working with children. I was associated with the National School of Drama in New Delhi for many years, and one of my areas of specialization was theatre and education, which means how do you use theatre as a tool for empowerment and education of young minds?
Mm.
Um, Also, I've produced films, I've acted in quite a few films, television serials, and theatre. And I think I'm work in progress, basically.
That is a very impressive history of work that you have. So, theater and stories. What are stories for you?
You know, stories are living testimony of our lives.
Mhm.
We Indians are a land of Kathavachaks. Kathavachaks as in storytellers.
Yes.
Every nook and corner of this beautiful country that we belong to. And imagine right now how global we've become. You are in London and I'm sitting in Singapore and we are having a conversation about our motherland. So every nook and corner of our country is lots of stories. Every nook and corner is stories about our lives, our history, our heritage. We are a very ancient civilization, but we are a very modern country. And for me, storytelling is capturing the nuances of the country and the people who we are, and especially the young minds, which are the future for this amazing country called India. That is what storytelling is.
Interesting. And Vani, this book that you've written, Why Can't Elephants Be Read? Very interesting title. Instantly, it makes you ask a question, actually, why can't elephants be read? And what is it that the author is trying to tell here? Clearly, the author is trying to create a space of imagination for young minds. So, how did this title come about?
Very interesting and a very pertinent question, Ekta. Every book has its own journey. Some people write because of joy. Some people write because of sharing their own lives. Some people write because they are inspired by something. My book has a twofold journey. The first journey was when I was in drama school. The last play I did was called Lal Lal Hathi, which meant Red Red
Mm.
Elephant. And for more than a decade, I became a brand of Lal Hathi. Nobody called me Vani Tripathi. They used to call me Lal Hathi. My dear friend Nawazuddin Siddiqui, the celebrated actor from India who's globally renowned, the other day he was shooting in Mumbai, and we just happened to meet because I'm trying to do something. He was my senior in drama school. He just said to me, Vani, just dial your number. So I'm like, hello, I'm sitting right in front of you. Why should I dial your number, Nawaz? He said, Arey, dial karo na. And I dialed my number, his number on my phone. And what was flashing on his phone? Lalhati. I was like, I was like, what? You call me Lalhati even today? He says, because you are the perennial Lalhati of our lives. And I'll tell you what the story of that amazing play was. It was a story about a little boy who was very bad, very pisadi in his studies, but very good in art. So one day in school, he went and painted a red elephant. The art teacher got very cross with him. The art teacher said all kinds of fantasies are allowed. What is this red elephant? Elephants are either grey or they are black or they are sometimes white. Why is your elephant red? Why can't it be black or grey? So the little boy wages a polite but a firm debate with the teacher and he says, Teacher, you tell me, your elephants are black, white, or grey. I'm okay with that. My elephant is red. What's your problem with that? And my elephant shall remain red in color because he belongs to me. And then at that very moment in the play, out of a book in a box, I used to, pop out with big velvet red ears and a beautiful red velvet costume. And the children, the moment they would just see me, they used to start clapping and cheering. And I would go to them quietly in a corner, on stage and say, Can you see me? And they used to say, Yes, we can see you. I said, But that guy can't see me, which was a teacher.
Yeah.
And all of them, all across the world, we performed that play in, I don't know how many countries and millions of cities across the world. Every single child in the audience answered the same thing because he does not want to see you. And I think that is the crux of understanding why I wrote this book. We as adults are so busy growing up that we forget our childhoods very quickly. We seldom forget that everything that we do in our adult life is an insignia and imprint of our childhood. Every experience, every complex, every pressure, every single joy, and every single happiness that we had in our childhood will eventually have an impact on our adult lives. And what do we do as adults? We either bark orders at children or we talk down to them. We never see them as thinking, observant human beings, little people, as I call them. And that's why La La Lati was such an important and such a beautiful play, which spoke the inner language, the language of the inner self of children to many, many, many young people, thousands and millions of young people all across the world. And the second part of the journey, Ekta, is COVID, and it's personal. I'm the only child of academic parents. Father's no more, and my mother is bedridden since many years. So during COVID, I shifted into Amma's house. My little child was 2.5 years old at that time. And my husband and my in-laws came to Singapore, which was, kind of a shuttling home. 6 months here, 6 months there, the family used to be till my daughter was born. And nobody knew what the pandemic would do. And it was out of peril that this book was born in its second fold. For 2 long years, I could not meet my little daughter. I was there with my mother. I was looking after her. But I literally left my child at 2.5 and met her when she was 4+, because Singapore shut down to the world and there was no way that I could see her.
That is tough.
So this book is that journey of these 12 beautiful people, this big, fat Kashmiri Indian family that I'm married into. All these 12 people of the family kept their lives on hold for my daughter. And actually, I'm barely there in the book because I was barely there at the time when, I was with mom and she couldn't see me or meet me. And these 12 people are the expression of this large, big Indian families that we celebrate every day perceptively. But it's only in perilous times like COVID did we understand the meaning of what family is. When everybody was struggling for the same cause to be alive, and everybody was trying to keep their children safe. And also, I think this 2.5-year-old's worldview of the adult world with amazement, including masks, including lockdowns. I've not become ominous about it. I'm not morose in the book about it. I won't let out too much. I'm sure people who hear
Yes.
the podcast will want to read the book. But the second journey is personal. And one debate that I've been wanting to rage for many decades is why are we scared of realistic writing for children?
Mm.
We peddle fantasies, frozen castles, kings and queens. It's fine to have fantasy. But the everyday life of a child is so interesting, deeply complex, full of joys and sorrows. But what do? We talk about things which have nothing to do with the child's life, and we forget that the everyday reality of a child is both cathartic for the child. My experience, having done so much theatre and devising plays with children, when you talk about their realism, it's very cathartic because it's problem solving. When they do role play, it's always outside of them and they find solutions within their own selves, being some other people. And realistic writing is also something which gives you a deeper insight into how they are and what they are.
Well, you have traveled many dimensions in that explanation of how the title has come, because I understand you don't live in one dimension, you exist in multiple dimensions. So, you've spoken about the concept of bringing the joy of wonder in a child, of curiosity in a child, and um, making them believe that there is a thought in their head, there is something that they believe in, let's say a red elephant, and it does exist, and they have a choice to manifest that belief. So from there, we have gone to a very deeper person story of you bringing that insight to us, where our Indian family, the great Indian family, we just come together, and how you use that episode of separation with your daughter as a catalyst to as a trigger to write a story. And as adults, we sometimes forget that we have to nurture a child's inner world first before introducing them to the outer world that is going on. And once we're nurturing that inner world, while we're nurturing that inner world, we have to gradually introduce them to the perils of the outer world as well. That yes, there are fantasies. Yes, there is going to be beautiful things. But we can't live in denial of what exists. And we've got to, allow them to explore that dimension as well and find their solutions. It looks like a book with a lighter tone, but a deeper message. Thank you so much. And I love the illustration there. Is that message for children here, or is it a message for parents here?
You see, all throughout my work, one of the first things that I always say is that children are those gurus who save us from perils of adulthood.
It is a very interesting statement.
It is. I mean, we are very perilous as adults. We cheat, we lie, we are corrupt in so many ways of manipulating things around us. We manipulate relationships. And maybe the world is, the definition of success in competition is that you have to be a diplomat, you have to be a manipulative being, and only then, there'll be some definitive success. And coming from an industry where I think most actors are very real people because you have the danger of losing your real self because you are different people every single day. And there is a mirror that you watch, you look into every single day, which actually makes you very childlike. And that is one thing that the message is that never take children for granted. Because if you really want to find deeper meanings into your own lives, you said something very important to nurture the inner world. But you know what, Ekta? We can't even think of nurturing the inner world without exploring it. This big barricade, this big iron wall that we create between our own childhoods and our adult lives, first that needs to break. For example, we are both women, and always there is one thing that there are so many glass ceilings around women, whether it's professional, whether it's pay parity, whether it's, equal opportunities to work and to represent yourself. I would rather say that one of the things that women break much faster than the other sex is, the other gender is, the observation part of children around them. There is a empirical argument that, you know, don't involve children into your adult lives. I completely and totally disagree with it.
Okay.
Whatever we do, whatever we say, the child will be sitting in a corner reading a book. 2 days later, it will come out. All the horrible conversation you were having on the phone, bitching about somebody, it will all come out, and it will come out with such candor that you will be shocked. And you were thinking all this while that he or she wasn't even paying attention to you being present in the room. So the problem is us, not them. So the larger message is that children are very observant, thinking, beautiful little people. You want to save your perilous adult life? Start paying attention to them. When you'll pay attention, then you will start observing them. When you will observe them, it's only then that you will start listening to them. We do none. Most of us don't even do one thing. Small little example. During COVID time, we were all doing work from home. We were all virtually, digitally working exactly the way you and I are continents apart, talking to each other right now. So whenever you have a meeting, you will pass on your mobile phone to the kid and say, okay, beta, now you can play your game. 40 minutes later, when your meeting is over, you will be screaming at the top of your voice, screen time. You know what the child will turn around and say to you? Mama, you don't even go to that one place that you go to in the morning where even the kings go alone without that gadget in your hand. And you're asking me and arguing and debating with me screen time. So the first thing is, Ekta, we don't practice what we preach. One small little adjustment I made. Whenever my daughter is around me and she's awake and we are doing stuff together, I actually keep my mobile phone on silent. It's only 8 o'clock at night when she's in bed and gone to sleep because she has very early morning for school. I actually start my actual work post 8:30 at night. Now, people will say, what is this nonsense? How can you not? It's a choice you need to make. If you want to make a choice about creating a consciousness around children paying attention to your instructions and paying attention to what you wish them to do, emulate it yourself first.
Very interesting statement, Vani. You said it's a choice. Personally, I have worked a lot with children, as you know, that we publish books written by children. I think the challenge for us are not the children. It's not the children who don't want to write stories or who don't want to read stories. It's the parents. They have created so many activities for the children. It's almost that a day is packed. Now the child is going to swimming. Now the child is going for skating. Now the child is doing this. Now the child is doing that. So it's almost like pack, 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 pack. There is no breathing space. And I sometimes wonder, when you spoke about this choice, do children have the choice to decide, I want to do this first and give my best here? I don't want to do everything at one point. So it's sometimes the parents' guilt that is working through because they can't spend too much time. So the weekends is packed, and you almost see this child and you feel sad about it. And here this child is writing a story and enjoying it and loving it, but the parent is just looking, okay, come on, finish it up. We have a swimming class to go. So As parents also, it's not just about observing the child, it's about understanding what you are giving to the child here is not a exposure of all these activities. It's not a compensation to the lack of time the quality time that you should give them. Even if you've spent 5 minutes of reading time before sleeping, or just have a conversation about how was your day when the child comes, just leave the phone, which is rightly said, and ask, how was your day? That will make a better positive impact.
It's not just guilt, it's also, is that knee-jerk reaction that, if he or she is busy, then I can do my stuff. It's actually very selfish. It's one of
Selfish.
those things where, your own ego, you're egocentric, you want to succeed in life. I mean, there is no questionable reality that the quality time a child will, spend with his or her parent and his or her caregiver, that can never be negotiated. And all over the world, women work and they bring up children. So it's not even that women can't do it. Most people say, ha, now you take a break from your profession because you've become a mother. That's also wrong. I'm not at all trying to say that you negotiate one space for the other. The problem is the patriarchal setup all across the world, including India. Men will be economic providers, women will be biological providers, and these two collaborations never meet. These two situations never meet. And that is where the trouble starts. And also, this big fat Indian family that I talk about, one of the most important things is that when you tell stories to children, whether it's a dada dadi, nana nani ki kahaniyan, the stories that we grew up with our grandparents, whether it is the value systems that elders create around you. Frankly, in the West, if you are not out of your parents' home, and if you are an adult and married, and if you're still living with your parents, is seen as an anomaly. Like it's almost seen as there is something wrong with you and your relationships. Whereas in India, it's exactly the opposite. You care for your parents, you live with them, and the values that you create for your own children because of the presence of these elders in the family are the values which cannot be read or written or, mugged up from a book. And these are those few relationships, those few collaborations which every child needs, and the nurturing part, as you say. The other part, making a child into a robot, making a child into a human computer is again that same thing. How will the word choice, you know, at all have a presence at a time when a child does not even know what he or she is going to experience? Simple things. I introduced the violin to my little girl because I'm very interested in music. I wanted to see how she responds. In Singapore, there's a world famous technique of learning music called the Suzuki method, where a little child, of course, can't read the notes of music, but the intonation of sound. Exactly how Ramayana and Krishna Katha and the Mahabharata tales have been told to us through generations and generations, and we continue, as I say, the Vachik tradition, the verbal tradition of storytelling. Similarly, music, Anikta, she just took to it like a dream.
Wow.
While she had no pressure of doing four other things, she's already playing the violin. It's a second year. And she loves to swim. I can't swim to save my life. But she's like a dolphin in water. And when I look at her, these are choices that she's made. I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent. But all I'm saying is I'm very aware of the fact that none of my uh, you know, unexpressed or unreceived dreams should be put onto her. Adults also have, they see little bonsais, of their own selves in their children. हम जो नहीं कर पाए हमारे बच्चे करेंगे. क्यों? वो क्यों करेंगे जो आप नहीं कर पाए? What is this nonsense? Why should they not have a sense of life, sense of choice, sense of aspiration that belongs to them. And that's why the red elephant is that little imaginary friend that only belongs to, you know, us. Or Akko, my daughter's name is Akshara, protagonist of the book is Akko, or me. The red elephant belongs to me and to nobody else. And it's an inward journey between me and my red elephant. That is what I think we need to unravel. We need to find our own red elephants before
Mm.
we start putting a dash into, you know, what will the world say? What is the definition of success? Eventually, their lives will become pressure cookers. We all know that. It will be about grades and competition and which university you go to. But that nuanced joy of childhood, those little small things that they have so much love and interest in, should not get drowned in, those overfed realities that we bring to them. That you've got to do this because I've decided it for you.
About this character now, let's understand the character Akku. It's inspired by your daughter, definitely. Who is Akku? Tell us a little bit more about this character.
Akku, Akshara's प्यार का नाम. I mean, Akshara's nickname is Akku. She's a two and a
Mhm.
half year old kid who's very inquisitive about life. There's actually one incident, pre-COVID. She used to hang in my harness because, that used to be joy because she could face the world exactly the way I was facing it. And I thought it's a very beautiful way of, walking around with a kid because obviously you get tired and, you'll keep shuffling from here to there, holding a kid. And a comfortable harness is great joy because she can, dangle her legs and look at the world around her. There's a very big food court in Singapore right opposite our home, which is supposed to be one of the most famous food courts of Singapore called Newton. And one of the evenings I was walking around the food court buying stuff, some omelets and things and all. And few days before, I'd actually told her a story about crabs who live in the sea. So suddenly, from her harness, she looked down and looked at this big tub of water with crabs floating in it, obviously waiting to be fried up and gobbled up by some adults little later. But she looked at the crab and she looked at the crab and she looked at me and she asked me, why is this thing here in her own way? This one should be in the sea floating around. That's the story you told me.
Mm.
And I was astounded at the, relativity in her mind that she had created immediately. That Mama had told me that the crabs are these lovely little creatures. I was just trying to tell her through that story that I told her days before that creepy crawlies are not creatures that you should be afraid of. They have beautiful lives of their own and
I,
they leave imprints on sand and all those kind of things. And here she's seeing that creature floating in a big tub of water in the middle of smells and sights of food. Obviously, that was one of the first impressions that I got from her, that she looks at life around her with great, um, in great detail. There's a little fish pond below our building where these lovely shimmering orange, in Singapore and I think in the Chinese belief system, fish are supposed to be very calming and they're supposed to be good omen. So a lot of big condominiums in Singapore have these lovely fish ponds, freshwater fish ponds, where the fish, big and small
Mhm.
fish are, there swimming around. So one of the days she was seeing the shimmering fish and she discovered that there is one security guard, who she calls guard bhaiya, like all Indian kids, despite being in Singapore. And she used to go with a little hand out and used to say fish food. She used to ask for the fish food because she saw some people putting pellets of fish food in the pond. And every day it became a routine where the security guard, would wait for Akku to go down and pitter patter, go with the little feet and take her little hand out and ask for fish food. So this is the kind of character that she is. She has an own sense of relationships with adults around her. She looks at observations, she looks at life, observes it, comes back a few days later with some imprints, and loves to paint, which is really true. So frankly, it's not inspired by Akku, it is Akku.
Okay.
Whatever you will read in the book is real time. It's exactly the way it happened even during COVID time. Because after the first few weeks when I used to not see her, I used to not talk on the video call. I used to just in on mute watch her because I thought it'll be traumatic for her. Because one of
Mm.
the days when I was speaking to her, we live in a two-storied house. She thought that I'm upstairs and talking to her from the upper level. So she went up looking for me all over. Where's Mama?
Oh, traumatic.
So first few weeks till she understood that mama can be inside a phone and there is something where mama can talk to me and she's not with me, she's somewhere else, but we can communicate. So it was a dynamic journey where slowly and gradually she figured out what speaking inside a phone means because she was very little at that time. She was just 2.5. So I'll just read the blurb of the book. Aku is
Yes.
a lively, imaginative, and adventurous 2.5-year-old little girl growing up partly in Gurgaon, that's India, and mostly in Singapore, and she's the darling of a big joint family. From playing with her fishy friends and beloved puppy to discovering the wonders of swimming pools, sea beaches, and food courts, every new experience fills Aku with joy and curious questions. She loves to scribble, draw, and color, and her imagination runs riot with elephants that are red, crabs that have mustaches, and unicorns that don't have horns. But the biggest adventure of her all awaits Aku her first day at school. So we have a pet, and he's called Milo. So Milo is, of course, one of the story. And Milo is like a little brother. He's Milo Tikku, and there's Aku Tikku, and there's Milo Tikku. And I'm just opening the Milo chapter because the kids actually uh, run a riot when they see Milo, in the book. And throughout, wherever, whether Singapore or India or whatever, that's the chapter. And this is our Milo, and this is exactly
Oh.
how Milo
So
looks.
these are collection of short stories that are separate, or are they
12.
a continue? So they are collection of
No, there are 12
12.
stories, 12 stories, which are each chapter each with a beginning, middle, and end. But obviously, there is a running thread, which is Aku and,
It's a
the
larger
adventures of
narrative.
Aku, in the book. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Has your daughter Aku actually read this book?
Well, this is another very interesting tale. So I thought I will make her discover and explore the book and so on. So one of the days when I received the dummy copy of the book, it was there in my bag. Mostly she doesn't put her hand in the bag. She put her hand and here came out the book and she looked at it and then she looked at it and then she looked at me. Is that me, Mama? And
How
I
old was she
said
then?
about, so as I say, she was about 4
She
at the time
recognized
when I
that
met
it
her.
was her.
So I actually wrote the book during the pandemic. This is one of the things that kept me sane.
Hmm. I can
And it
imagine.
was very cathartic for me to write the book, Ekta, because I was going through such a dense time. I can't even describe it in words anymore. Being with Amma, bedridden, COVID, not being with her, being away from family, and so on. Anyway, so she looked at me and I was like, obviously, I can't lie to her. I tried not to lie to her at all. So I said, what do you think? Is this you, Aku? So she looked, Mama, it looks like me, and that's your red elephant, right? And I'm like,
God.
I got caught. And then, of course, she explored the whole book. This is way before the book went into print, but she already knew all about it. And since her friends, her first play date, her painting, her Milo, her aunts, her uncles, her father, her grandfather, her grandmother, they're all a part of the book. So there was no no hiding from anywhere. I mean, I couldn't do anything. So it was called, as I call it, organic exploration of what can't elephants be read by Akku. Just happened by accident, but she really had a lot of fun, looking at the book.
And has she seen any of your theater? Or was she old enough to see those? The Lal Hathi?
So yeah, so Lalati happened at a time when we barely had anything digital, HD,
Yes.
no WhatsApp, no Google, no Apple, no any of these things. But there was a scratchy copy that the drama school had of the play, and the play had lot of music. I also used to sing on stage. I mean, the uh, big theatre music director, guru of our times, V.V. Karanji gave the music. And I used to actually sing as a Lal Hati. So many songs I had, which I still sing live. Also, I want to tell you a little more about the devising of the play. Berlin had this emancipatory theatre for children called Grips, in which also we specialized. And the first rule used to be no fantasy for children. And that's how Lal Hati was born, through that same methodology, which is long and pedantic, 8 to 9 months of writing script before you actually, exploring scripts, as we call it. So she saw the scratchy copy of Lal Hati. First, she didn't believe that the Lal Hati in the play is mum. Totally, complete rejection. No, no, this is not you. Come on, come on. Don't you bluff me. This is not you. So she was around again 3.5, 4 at that time. So I realized that no, she was even younger. Actually wanted her to experience the play. So then a little later when she grew up, she's now 5 plus, around 4 plus, she said, yeah, maybe the Lalati sounds a little like you. Sing that song. So I would sing La La Lati. La 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 Lati Ume. So she'll go, ah, maybe. That sounds like you. You've not done playback singing, right? I mean, she also already knows that there's a lip sync to a song. That's what you do when you have actors and producers, around you. So I said, no, what do you think? So by now, she's sort of amalgamated with the idea that the Lalati could be my mum, but still had a speck of suspicion whether it's actually me or it's somebody else who looks like me. But she loved the play. Yeah, we experienced the play together. We explored it. I wish it was still in the running. I mean, what she would have reacted, me seeing on stage, doing it with all the kids who used to run a riot, when they used to see the Lalati and, all of that. But yeah, she's sort of has started to explore the concept of, what it means when your elephant is red,
So,
if at
so
all
any,
it
any
actually.
plans to adapt this book as a theater in future? Why not revive the Lal Hati?
Yes, it'll be a massive production because there's a cast of 12 and then there's a kid and there are all kinds of, there's fish and there are crabs and there's a Milo and there's all kinds. Yes, and in fact, that's a very interesting question, Ekta, because one of the other things that bothers me a lot is lack of good content for children.
Yes.
I mean, today the word has become content. It's not just films. You have a web series segment. You have, OTT is ruling our lives post-COVID, or rather during COVID, we discovered Netflix, which was private screening, became public screening. Collective viewing it became because families got together and started watching what was streaming on Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Google, etc., etc. But the point is that it again connects to my same note of, um, you know, my disagreement with how adults, look at
Mm.
children. We don't write about them and make films or content about and for them because we again go back to the same perilous way of, looking at children. Either it has to be supreme fantasy and parikatha and fairy tales, or it's nothing. And the Grips theatre movement actually changed that for the world in so many ways. The Red Ladder Company from UK for many, many decades worked on, realistic role play for children. And one of the things that we represent when we talk about Grips is adults performing for, adults performing as, and adults performing with children.
Mm.
And I think this is that in the body of a 35-year-old, if I'm doing an 8-year-old, is all childish. It's not real role play. I mean, I used to have a colleague who had a full-blown grown beard and used to, play the character of a 9-year-old. No kid in the audience ever raised a finger on him to ask, why is a 9-year-old there with a beard? Because the realism of portraying a child or being childlike was so realistic and was so acceptable. Also, remember There's no Mickey Mouse. If we were to look at fantasy, there are no Donald Ducks around you. But the children accept it exactly the way as Big Muppets or Peppa Pig, which is so popular all across the world. The problem is in our heads, Ekta. It's not with the
Mm,
children. We should be. And this is a struggle that I have been going through for more than 3 decades, whether it's education, whether it's portrayals, whether it's representation. Nobody writes for children exactly the way they are. And this
mm,
is, again, one of the debates that I want to, unleash. If books can be accepted by children in realistic time, why can't content be made which is also realistic time, content for them?
I 100% agree with you. And in fact, this is what we are, as a publishing company also working towards is giving children a chance to write books and, children a chance to read books written by children because the realism that becomes the perception of the world that they have created. So the way they see the world and the way they write the story, that will instantly connect with another child. So I believe that children should be seen as serious writers as well, as much as serious thinkers. And they are, I mean, the next generation, we were talking one day, is so much more aware. Their mental abilities, they live in another dimension. I think they are so much more conscious and so much more aware, so much more um, awakened than us. But here is my again one question. We are coming to a world where AI is dominating everything. Computers are becoming friends. There are some apps which very dangerously create this imaginary friend, which is a computer. It's not even a real friend, and the child can have an actual interaction with that robotic friend. In this kind of an environment, how do we bring realism in, where everything is becoming so much more artificial? Um, so much more unreal. We are almost creating an unreal reality for children. How do they differentiate between what's real and what's not?
It's a very, very important and a very dangerous question to ask. But it's dangerous because I'll go back to yes, the next generation is overexposed. That's a word I use a lot when I work with facilitators, teachers, and people who work with children. But one of the other things is that it all depends on you, Ekta. If I'm
Mm,
going to hand over my phone to a 3-year-old child, I have anyway damaged his sense of imagination immediately. Painting, writing. You said parents don't read, children don't read. When you ask, do you read? That you say, हमारे बच्चे तो किताबें नहीं पढ़ते. Our kids are not reading books. Are you reading enough
are you
books
reading books?
that they should be emulating you? So she goes to school at 8 in the morning, comes back at 4 o'clock, dead tired. The first thing we do is we pick up a canvas and we start painting because she loves doing it and she chooses it. Or there's a day when we're playing the violin together. The thing is that AI will remain AI only till we let AI rule our lives. That is a choice and a decision we have to make. AI has great advantages. For example, Mahabharata is the world's first immersive storytelling experience. I mean, me and famous director Shekhar Kapoor wrote a big paper on immersive storytelling, which also connects to children. It's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel, a tale within a tale within a tale. If we will keep telling stories to them, that sense of realism is not going to go away anywhere. Number two, it's again that same empirical debate. You will want to shrug off your responsibility and let a robot take over. Who's going to rule your life? You have the human interface cannot be negotiated, let me tell you.
Mm,
I am not bit worried about the AI part. What I'm worried about is the lackadaisical attitude of parenting that we have thrust upon us. That is what bothers me. Technology will go far and very far and very far, and obviously, perilously speaking, we go on to say that humanoids and androids and all kinds of people will rule the earth. Not in our lifetime, Ekta. As long as we keep ourselves grounded to the fact that storytelling is a non-negotiable, learning and reading about books is a non-negotiable, learning music is a non-negotiable, dancing to great music is a non-negotiable, painting all kinds of rubbish which looks rubbish to us and is a great experience. All these little non-negotiables is what will we keep it realistic and what will keep it safe. And as far as the danger part, I also sit on the body called the Central Board of Film Certification in India. What really bothers me more than profanity and bad language and all the things that we debate in our adult worlds is violence around children.
Yes.
And there is a button called parental control. You will not exercise it, you will pay a price for it because the child has no knowledge of what should or should not be consumed as content. What do certification boards do all across the world? They create content which are consumed by age-related classifications. What is good for an 18-year-old can never be good for an 8-year-old. Anywhere, any part of the world, this is not negotiated. The uber liberal content creators of the world also will say, what bothers me is violence and the portrayal of violence around children, because that leaves an indelible imprint into an impressionable mind. So the choice is ours. As I always tell people, if you will not watch garbage, nobody will produce garbage. Because there is a large mass of people who are consuming that garbage, who are objectifying women, who are making dangerous things for children. Because this consumption ratio directly connects to the demand and supply, there will be people who will be producing it. So that's a choice we have to make. That's a responsibility we have to take. And that's a decision which is only upon us.
Interesting. Coming back to the book again. So, do you want to write another book as a sequel as Aku grows? Is there a plan to show us the world of Aku as she grows?
Yeah, I think the first book is a cliffhanger. I already have a lot of talk going on. People are saying, publishers are saying. But the thing is that this book, I never intended to write. I also didn't tell you that, Ekta. Every day between 9 and 11 a.m. in the morning, when I was done with the chores of my mother, I used to be so tired already that I used to actually start writing, or I used to record myself, telling stories, because that used to be cathartic. I thought nobody will be interested in this story. My lovely publisher, Neogy Books, Krisha, sometimes used to meet me at the IISc in Delhi. During lockdown also sometimes used to go to have a cup of tea, though we were far apart. I was in one corner of the city and she was in another. And one of the days I just said, I'm just scribbling something. She said, show me. I said, no, it's not publishable material. She said, oh, show me. Who are you to decide that? And lo and behold, the book happened. Also to these illustrations that you love, they were all pictures that I shared with this beautiful illustrator called Rupak Niyogi, who lives in Calcutta. And he exactly emulated with some tweaks. So all the people that you see in the book, exactly the way they look. Yeah, if there's a juju, he doesn't have hair on his head. He's exactly the way he is, So, but yes, I want to continue writing. But I think I'm a kind of a storyteller, but it has to flow out of me. I cannot, by design, sit down and say, now I'm going to write 10 pages. It doesn't work with me like that. See, because basically I'm an actor. It has to flow out of me. But I think a second book should be happening because the cliffhanger is the first day in school, and then the adventures of school is something which definitely can happen. But I don't want to pin myself down because then it will not be natural. I want to make it and write it and, entrench it exactly the way it happened. It came out as a flow. So let it flow. And I think maybe.
Every book has
but
its journey.
Yeah, it has its journey.
Every book has its journey. And what is your wish with this book? Where do you see this going?
I think the most beautiful part of having children read this book is that one of the first emails I got, so one thing I do when I do a book signing, Whenever there's a kid, I actually write my mail ID on the within the book signing itself, and I say, I need a review.
Wow.
So one of the first reviews that came to me was a 9-year-old, and I didn't know that a 2.5-year-old can speak to a 9-year-old. Look how uh, you know organic this language could be. And he wrote that I'm so and so, and you wouldn't remember me. Of course, I remembered him because he asked me a lot of questions on the first launch itself that happened in Delhi, where my dear friend Smriti Irani and our iconic actor Paresh Rawalji, launched the book. And he said, you know what? And he's written the mail like this, as if he's having a conversation with me. You know what? Uh, Akku is exactly how I was at 2.5. So my first thing was, how would you remember what you were as 2.5? Imagine the sense of imagination that he had
Mm.
of he immediately related to asking questions and being curious. And so the wish list for this book is more and more children, but young adults, parents and facilitators should read it.
Mm.
And maybe all those hidden stories inside of them will also come out, you know, uh, during the course and the journey of this book. There is a little surprise here. I didn't know that she's going to come
I was
by. She
about
just
to say,
opened the door.
hello, Akku. Hello.
Yeah, because I'm on a headset. You know what? I'm talking to uh, Ekta in London. Uh, and yes, and about the book. Yeah,
About the book,
now I
about your
think
book. Elephants be red? Should they be red? Or maybe the rain should be purple. Yes, I agree with you 100%. You're
we were
adorable.
discussing about the book. We were talking about you. We were talking about Milo. We were talking about, crabs and unicorns and those all those kind of things.
Tell me,
You
what's
want to
your
say
favorite
something?
story in the
You
book?
want to say
What's your
something to
favorite
Ekta?
story?
What is she asking? Listen
Hmm?
to her. What is she
What's your
asking?
favorite story in the book? Tell me.
Which is the favorite story in the book? No, you tell her
Got to tell me.
loudly. Going to
Come on.
school.
What's
Say,
that?
going to school. Going to school.
Wow. Going to school is your favorite story. What's good about it? What's the character that in that? Is there Milo there? I know, and I saw the illustration of Milo. I know what Milo looks like. No?
Say. I love school.
Wow. You got to say that even louder. And you make and your friends and you read this book together? Do you read it with your friends or have you read it in your school?
Not in my school. No. Yes, I came to the class. Yeah, in my school. Yeah, in my school.
Will you read it to me?
Will you read it to me? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. She's still putting words together, so
Okay.
it takes a little effort to read. So, 14th November is Children's Day, Indian Children's Day, also known as Chacha Nehru's birthday, and it's Nehru Center. So
Oh,
at
yes.
6:30 in the evening, we are having a launch, and we have a few kids. One of them is a child author who will also be coming. And basically, I always think that London is a place where writing for children has always been, important. I'm really looking forward to looking at how the Londoners respond to this debate that I want to, read. And also practitioners of education, facilitators, writers, I think quite a few people like yourself. For me, it's unique that children can publish their own books.
Yes.
I think that is the rarest part of the wonderful work that Ekta, you and your organization do. And I'm really looking forward to seeing and talking and meeting those people for whom it matters that children, can be the centerpiece of their own existence and their own lives. I think that is what is most valuable and most precious.
I wish you could have joined our literary festival, but nevertheless, we wish you good luck for your London launch, and I'm sure it's going to
Thank
be
you.
loved by children and parents. It's a It's a topic that we must talk about. It's a book that one must read. And the way you have brought imagination and realism together, and the story, the way the story has turned out during a time when you were going through something so traumatic. I think that's commendable. Thank you for putting the story together. That's all I can say
Thank
as a
you so much,
poet.
Ekta, and look forward to seeing you on 14th and also meeting this wonderful group of people that you work with.
On the last note, is the book available to buy in the UK?
Yes, it's available on Amazon UK for now, and I think very soon after the launch, it'll be hitting the bookstores. But the Amazon UK link is live, and the surprising part is even before the launch, people are already buying it, and that was a big surprise for me.
Thank you so much, Vani. We will let you go. And that was inspiring conversations with Vani Tikoo, the author of Why Can't Elephants Be Read? I can't wait to grab my copy of the book. And the book will be showcased at the AIM Literary Festival 2023 at the Story Garden Bookshelf. We are very delighted and we're very thrilled to have that book as part of our festival, because I think these are the books that must find a platform to reach far and wide. And all the best to this book and the journey that it takes. Thank you so much, Vani, for your time today.
Thank you, Ekta, and all the best for this amazing festival that you're doing, in the next couple of days. More power to you and our tribe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.